YouTube, this is Geographic Scholar, back with another video. Now, for this video, I'm going to start out and try to make a visualization of this. Imagine this. You are in a city where the climate is warm, tropical. You got palm trees, you got lush vegetation, plenty of rain. It's a very festive place. You got a certain joyfulness about it. You got people from all over the world. You got people from Spain, from France, from Haiti, from Cuba, from Honduras. You got people from Italy, from Germany, from Ireland. You got people from all over. And it's a city that has a strong economic tie with Latin America. Now, a lot of people are thinking, this is Miami, Florida. And you would be right. We would be talking about Miami, Florida. However, this video is going to have some historical geography in it and some economic geography as well. I'm not talking about Miami, Florida. I'm talking about the city of New Orleans. And now many people would ask, what does New Orleans have to do with this? Well, the Geographic Scholar will teach you. Now, I've got an atlas here. Let's see what we can get. Voila! Here we are, New Orleans, right there. And if we were to look at there, that is the Mississippi Delta. Down here, sorry, you look here, that little body of water right there, Gulf of Mexico. Now, sorry, I'm a little tired. Think about that. New Orleans, it was founded by the French, and it would grow into a very influential port. It was ruled by the French, the Spanish, the French again, and in 1803, it was essentially became part of the United States of America under the Louisiana Purchase, a very large land grab. Now, I'm going to get more into detail about the economic geography of this place. Because New Orleans at that time in the 1800s and into the 1900s, I'm going to put a little historic geography in there too, because of that, this was before Miami became a major city. New Orleans had existed long before Miami ever did. In fact, I think that was part of the reason why New Orleans was such a major port and had such strong ties with Latin America. Because it was the biggest port in town that time. When it was ruled by the Spanish, you could catch a galleon from New Orleans to Havana. And if you went because at that time, New Orleans was a seat of power for the Spanish. In fact, there's a building in New Orleans called the Cabildo. And, that was the seat of power for the Spanish in New Orleans. Well, New Orleans would become part of the United States, and its economic influence would be very important because it would become a major trading hub. In fact, it would have large ties with Latin America economically, with Cuba especially, because you always had a link between New Orleans and Cuba. Because, it had always been there. It was there when the Spanish ruled, and it was there when it was a part of the United States. In fact, Cuba was New Orleans' largest trading partner at the time, in the 1900s. And it was not the only tie with Latin America. You also had Honduras. A lot of people do not know that Honduras was... You had major land holdings by the United Fruit Company and Standard Fruit Company. Basically, a lot of plantations down in Honduras with bananas. And because of that, you had a lot of ships going up to New Orleans. Because all those fruit companies were headquartered in New Orleans. And because of that, you had a lot of shipping between New Orleans and Honduras. And for that major reason, you also have one of the nation's largest Honduran populations. In fact, New Orleans' Honduran population dates back to that very time in the 1900s because of, the fruit companies. You would have people who were in Honduras and they would go up to New Orleans to work. Many worked as dock workers. You also had some relatively wealthy Hondurans living in New Orleans as well. And the ties between New Orleans and Latin America have lasted even with the revolution in 1959, because you had a lot of Cubans that went to Miami, Florida. However, that was not the only place. New Orleans also received a sizable number of Cubans. In fact, you go to New Orleans today, there is a statue of the great Cuban intellectual Jose Marti. He was the man who had an idea of Cuba for Cubans, all Cubans, black, white, whoever you were. And he wanted to have a free Cuba, an independent Cuba. And you have a statue dedicated to him in New Orleans. New Orleans has a lot of cultural ties, a lot of historical ties, and a lot of economic ties to Latin America, more than a lot of people think, because I'll explain it to you. Economically, you had a lot of shipping and a lot of commerce between New Orleans and Latin America, between New Orleans and Cuba, between New Orleans and Honduras, and probably more. And you also had some cultural ties as well. It had been ruled by the Spanish, and that was not the only ties. You also had a large immigration of Canary Islanders. Many went into the Caribbean, some went to Louisiana. And if you were to listen to the Spanish spoken by some Canary Islanders, or Isleños as they are called, in Louisiana, the Spanish spoken by some of them sounds quite similar to Spanish spoken in Puerto Rico and Spanish spoken in Venezuela and in Cuba. And it's, you also have the French influence, because the French have ruled the place from a long time. And there's another influence that a lot of people do not know about. New Orleans also has had a Haitian population that had moved up there in the 1800s during the Haitian Revolution, which had started just as the 18th century was coming to a close and the 19th century was about to begin. There are many people who were once in Haiti, and many of them fled and went to New Orleans, and New Orleans was one of the first places they went. And, you look at the city of Miami today. Many people know it as the gateway to Latin America. I would say New Orleans was the original gateway to Latin America. It was the first. And, it created sort of this, cultural, economic gumbo of a sort, And when you really think about it, it has made New Orleans into a very interesting place. Because being a major port, you had people coming from all over. You had the French and the Spanish, and the slaves were brought here from Africa. You had people coming up from Haiti, from Cuba, from Honduras, from Italy, from Spain, from France, Germany, all over the world. And there is another mark of Spanish influence in New Orleans as well that many people have never thought about, and it has been through the fact that you had some Filipinos in Louisiana as well. Sometime around the 1600s, it is important to remember that the Philippines was once part of Spain. And so you had some Filipinos who were probably on the ships going throughout the Spanish Empire, and from what I was told, many basically escaped from the ships, and many had gone into the swamplands of Louisiana and established villages like Saint Malo, being one of the first Asian settlements in Louisiana. And I think in many ways it makes just for an interesting place. New Orleans was shaped by economic geography, physical geography, historical geography, and it makes New Orleans a very interesting place. And I think that's part of why I call it the original gateway to Latin America, because it was the original gateway. That is my piece on New Orleans. Thank you for watching. Remember, like this video and subscribe.